All right, we're gonna get that going here. First, I appreciate everybody staying. It's been a long day so far. We still have a little bit to go, so I appreciate everybody's patience in this. So, next up, we're gonna have the Imam of the Masjid, Brother Ismail Salim. He's gonna come up and give the history and the story of the children of Abraham. So, I won't do any of my quick little side stories for the sake of time. So, I bring up Brother Ismail Salim.
Brother told me I was Mr. Rogers. Mr. Rogers changed the uniform so many times. Let me get up. Is my door?
I don't know how far it's echoing out there. I don't know how to hear.
All right. I want to talk about Black history, real Black history, authentic Black history. As the Imam, I can't leave without making sure you're all aware of Black history. Black history is the history of everybody, of humanity. So I want to make sure that was clear. Before I came here, my son was watching Aladdin. And he said, everybody on Aladdin is black. And he said his older brother told him that. And I said, so I asked his older brother, he said, no, I didn't say everybody was black, I said everybody was Muslim. So my youngest son here was equating blackness with Islam. And I thought that was pretty interesting, that he was thinking that way, because in my household, we always talk about Islam, and we always talk about African American people, about black people, period. So I wanted to make sure this is clear, this is dedicated to him, so he'll know and understand. I'm gonna try to be as concise as possible. I have a couple of slides, I have a couple of books I wanted to show you all to recommend to you. So, personally speaking, when it gets hot outside, I was in Mali for 2 weeks and it was 105 degrees. My skin complexion got darker just for those 2 weeks. During wintertime, when there's less sunlight, I get a little bit lighter. So I want to talk to you all about the relationship between the sun and skin color, skin complexion. There's an anthropologist named Nina Dobson. She said there is a conspicuous geographical pattern between skin color and distance from the equator. So that's why I have the equator on here, and the sun is tilted towards the sun. And in the middle of the earth is the equator. Right, and the people that are on that equator are darker skinned than the people who are further away from it. So she is talking about the distinction between the two. And she says humans living near the equator develop darker skin tones, while those in northern climates develop lighter hues. So the further you get away from the equator, the lighter you get. And scientists have said that human beings come from Africa, probably Eastern Africa. People say around about maybe Ethiopia. And the father of humanity is Adam. We call him Adam. And here is a picture of National Geographic's Adam. In the Quranic dictionary, in the Quran, our holy book, Adam means dark brown man. So the father of all humanity was a dark brown man, what we would call black man, right? Adam also means to reconcile, to be dark brown, to have human skin, to be a human being, to be a person, to be an intelligent person, to be a brave person, to be a civilized man, to be an honest person, to be kind and polite. Now, Adam, I think I have it up top here, means dark brown. There's other colors because there's other hues in our complexions. As you see here, some people are lighter and darker than others. Light brown is Asmar. That's what a light brown person is. But dark brown is Adam, right? And his wife, Eve, or Hawa, means a dark-skinned woman. So we got a dark brown man and a dark brown woman created all the people on this planet. And the Quran, our holy book, says that Adam was made from black clay, hama'in, black mud. So if you fashion somebody from black mud, then they would have black skin. We're talking about complexion here. Now the title of this is about the children of Abraham. We see Abraham as a prophet. So what I wanted to do is go from Adam and Eve, Hova, who are dark-skinned people, dark brown man, dark brown woman, and then go down to Noah. Noah had 3 sons. They are characterized for being the progenitors, being the forefathers of the Negroid, the Mongoloid, and the Caucasoid people. And I have listed here who they are. Shem is the Mongoloid, right? So that's what we maybe consider Asian. Japheth was the Caucasoid or white people. And Ham is the Negroid people, dark-skinned people, right? So Ham had a son, and Ham was black, obviously, because he is the father of all black people, right? So that's not in contention whatsoever, right? He fathered all the people of America. That's not in contention. But let me tell you here, Ham also was the father of Canaan. Canaan is the name of the place that is in dispute currently. That's why I'm dressed the way I am. Before it was Israel or Palestine, it was called Canaan. So this black man here was the father of Canaan. He's also the father of Cush. Cush is not only Ethiopia, we'll also discover part of Arabia. We'll go into that a little bit later. And Mizraim, which is Egypt, Kemet. Father of these people was black. And Put, which is Libya, currently. So Canaan encompasses Israel or Palestine. It encompasses Lebanon, Jordan, and Syria. So the first people inhabiting these places were black people. What would we call black people? Dark brown skinned people. And Cush, obviously, is Ethiopia. Cush literally means the land of the burnt faces. You see, in English, in our speaking, we don't necessarily put descriptions with names. We just name people whatever. Somebody named John, some people named Calvin, some people named Sam. But they mean something. They're a description of something. So Cush means the land of the burnt faced people. Right? So they were very, very dark skinned in this land of Ethiopia, and as I said, also Arabia. And Put was doing trade with Ethiopia, and in Ethiopia, in Egypt, they had a land, and it was called the land of the god, which denotes the monotheism in their belief system. So Mizraim here, Ethiopia, Egypt, is the Hebrew or the Aramaic name for Egypt. As we know, it means Kemet. Kemet means land of the blacks, right? So I'm saying this, hopefully you're gathering this information here that they are describing the people that live on this land. If you notice, the people who are living there now don't look the same way as they look as I'm talking about now. So the people who are inhabiting the place right now are different from the people who originated there. We'll get into that a little bit. So apparently, there's a controversy about the color of the people living in Egypt or in Kemet. And I have a plethora of documentation to prove that they were dark-skinned people. And I'll just give you a couple of quotes from scholars. You are quite right about the African origin of Egyptians. I have 100 human skulls to prove. Another scientist says in their complex, in many of their complexions and in their physical particularities, the Egyptians were an African race. Another scientist says the Egyptians face-to-face described them as black-skinned with woolly hair. And on and on and on. The Egyptians were true Negroids of the same type as all natives of Africa. It says that that being so, we can see how their blood mixed several centuries later with the Romans and Greeks who were white people, right? So that's how they started to change in their complexion. And we see here another scientist saying, what is the subject for mediation? Just think that the race of black men today were slaves, but they were initially the people that we got arts and science and the actual speech from, right? So Ham and all of his sons were black, right? And we can deduce from this that if he's black, we can deduce his father was black. Because from black or brown comes black or brown, right? So Noah must have been black or brown, which also means Shem and Japheth were black or brown. So they were the first progenitors of all the people on this earth. And even in the Bible, it says the proximity to the Garden of Eden, where Adam was created, was Ethiopia, around the proximity of Cush. And there was a Chinese scientist named Jin Li, who thought that Chinese people came from someone different than everybody else. They thought they were special people. And they did the genealogy, they did the testing, and found out, no, everybody came from Eastern Africa. It is quite impossible for two white people to create everybody and populate the entire world with all these different complexions. And in the Bible, because we talk about the religious scriptures, and I'm talking about the religious scriptures, it says, can an Ethiopian change his skin or a leopard change his spots? Meaning that's how dark-skinned that they were. And a leopard can't change his spots. Now Japheth is the forefathers of the European people. And Shem is the forefathers of the Arabs, of the Hebrews, and the Syriac people, of the Samaritans, and the Assyrians. They are a Semitic people. We must bear in mind that both Shem and Japheth were black. Noah, their father, was also black. So he was black or brown as well, and he produced black or brown people. And they are the foreparents of all the Europeans, all the Asians, all the Arabs, everyone. It does not negate this fact at all. It reinforces the fact that the dominant gene can produce recessive genes, and the environment and people's diet and climate change their complexion. So when they left from the equator, going up into Europe and going down, leaving the equator, they got lighter and lighter until they became white people. Now I'm going to give you a picture of somebody, some of the first people, one of the first persons that was in in Europe, I'm sorry. Called Cheddarman. This is European. He got blue eyes, though, you see. And this is one of the first Europeans. So people migrated from Africa and went all over the world. That's the first people in Europe, the first Europeans, the first people that were Japanese, the first people that were Arabs, the first people that were in America were black and brown people. First people everywhere. We are actually the only people that are indigenous to everywhere. We are really the indigenous people. But back to Noah and his son Shem. Shem after he had a couple of different grandsons, and then he had a man named Terah, and Terah was the father of Abraham. And Abraham was black or brown as well because he's coming from this same lineage here. Now, according to the Bible, his half-sister was Sarah. They were Hebrews, so they were also black or brown coming from this same lineage. And then they had a son named Isaac. And you'll see Isaac here. And his son was Jacob. His name was changed to Israel. From that you get the 12 children of Israel. Right? What is called Israel today is literally, connected to Africa. The only thing that is separating them is the Suez Canal, which is a man-made canal. So they are literally connected. Right? And through people traveling, the people traveled out of Africa. They said they traveled out of Africa right into Saudi Arabia. So those African people traveled out and they were still of dark skin complexion. They're still on this equator. And I want to show you this picture. It's because borders were created that were created arbitrarily. But all of this you see here is Africa. So Saudi Arabia, what is called Saudi Arabia now, Palestine, Syria, Jordan, it's all Africa. They named it the Middle East, but what exactly is the Middle East or the Middle West or what have you? They're all connected to this landmass that we know as Africa. And as I said, the Suez Canal is the only thing separated. So all these people were close to the equator and they were black or brown. Now Isaac was also black, mainly because he lived in a region 4,000 years ago that was on the same region as Africa. And he had his name changed and he had 12 sons. And one of his sons' names was Joseph, or Yusuf. And Yusuf was sold into slavery in Egypt, which we have already discussed, black people. And he rose to a high position in Egypt. And his own blood brothers did not recognize him. They thought he was Egyptian because he was the same complexion as the people living in Egypt. So the people from the children of Israel were in the same proximity, the same place with the Egyptians, and his own brothers didn't know who he was. Because they all looked alike, like we're looking alike here. Right? So that means the children of Israel, 12 of them, one of them was Joseph, with the same complexion as these people right here. So all the way down to here is still black people, right? Still black or brown. So his 12 brothers, the 11 of them, also black or brown. And Abraham is said to be the father of the Midianite people. Moses was of these children of Israel, because I want to list them. I want you to know that David, Moses, Solomon, Jesus, John the Baptist, Mary, all the people in the whole Bible here are black or brown, right? All these people that we love and we adore and that we name ourselves after, all were black or brown. Abraham had a wife named Keturah. She is the mother of the Midianite people. Let me just show you what Midian. Midian, if you see that right there, that's the edge of Saudi Arabia, right? So Moses' wife was said to be a Midianite and a Cushite, because they combined the two. So the river in between the Red Sea, there was really no disconnect between those people. From one end to the next, they all were African people. And there was a prophet named Shuaib. He was also considered an Arab. We might consider him an Arab today. But he was also black and brown. And Moses was considered to be tall and Adam, the complexion of Adam. So when we say Adam, we mean the complexion, dark skin. He was dark skinned, tall, and apparently he was a very strong brother. And there's one story of a miracle where he put his hand into his coat and it comes out and his hand is white. His hand is white because he was black. The miracle was it showed his hand to be white. If he was white and his hand came all white, there would be no miracle. There would be nothing to show as a sign. So I'm saying all the children of Israel, David, Solomon, all of them were black. Solomon married a woman who was the queen of Sheba. And Josephus says she was the queen of Ethiopia and Egypt. Other historians say she was also the queen across the sea in Yemen, which is Midian. So in Yemen and Saudi Arabia was up Africa, was Ethiopia, right? She ruled from one side of the sea all the way to the other side. And she herself was also black and brown. So Midian is Yemen, but we see Yemen and Arabia today. And like I said, her queendom went all the way across the Red Sea. 1,500 years after this, after Moses, Joseph and Mary, two Israelites, fled to Egypt to hide from King Herod. In Egypt, if they were hiding and they looked anything other than the same complexion of the people living there, they would have been easily discovered. So from Joseph, he was hiding in Egypt with black and brown people. Then Moses also is living in this land, and he's living in Midian, the same complexion as those people, all the way down to Jesus going to the people there. So I'm saying all this just to let you know about real African history, real black history. So if we go all through all of this, we see here on this side that these people are black and brown. The children of Israel, right? From here is Midian. Those people are also black and brown. So that would mean their cousins, the Ishmaelites, are black and brown. Ishmael's mother was Hagar, who was an Egyptian woman. Egyptian, black people, right? Ishmael married an Egyptian woman, right? His son name was Kedar. Kedar means dark skin. Those people were black or brown people. Let's see if I got a picture just to show you. So we have, I just showed you the Midian and Kedar. That's the name of one of Ishmael's sons. Kedar literally means dark skin. Let's see. This is the Bible dictionary. It means dark skinned. He's the second son of Ishmael. Here's the Jewish virtual library. This is a nomadic tribe. It was a nomadic tribe and a tribe in Arabia, the Arabian desert. Here's another one, Hebrew, just defining what Kedar means. And if you see down here in bold, it says dark-skinned man. So these people here was also black and brown. All right? So let me say this. There was a man who was an imam, the position that I hold in Yemen, about 500 years after the prophet died. And he was teaching in the Caspian area. See, I think I have a picture of that. Yeah. So Russia, you see Ukraine, all these places up here is above the equator where people started to get lighter and lighter. He said, anyone who says that the prophet was black should be killed. And this is what the Muslims say. I want y'all to listen to this. This is what the man said. He said, I want them, anybody who says Muhammad was black, we should kill him. That seems harsh. It seems hard to say, right? He says he was not black. There was another person who was saying it shows disbelief to say that he was black. These are strong words. Now I'm wondering, why was these words ever spoken? Why was it so prevalent? Why did it have to be said that he wasn't black? If you say that, you're going to be killed. Because people were saying that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was black or brown. Now this is why this is important, especially for the Muslims, especially for me, and especially for my son. When I was growing up, I thought Bilal was the only black person that I knew. My middle name is Bilal. So all I knew was Bilal. He was African. And I thought he was an African slave who received his freedom. And he called people to Islam. So I love Bilal. And everybody loved Bilal. We even named ourselves Bilal here. But I want to tell you all that everybody was there who was black or brown already. The person that we see and we think he was a slave, he was a slave. But he was a slave out of warfare. But everybody else, all the people that we named, Uthman, Abu Bakr, Ali, everybody was black or brown. Everyone. Right? The first Arabs, the pure Arabs, were black or brown. They started mixing when they started marrying and intermarriage with the people who were Byzantines, which was Romans, which was the Persians and the Turks. And I'll give you a couple of quotes just to let you know what I'm saying. It says, the vast region of West Asia, with its extensions up to the Nile and the Indus, was occupied by what may be called a blackish race with its local variations, like the Proto-Mediterranean and the Hamites. The race is characterized by blackish brown complexion. This is the Dravidian and the Negro African. And another quote, in a book called The Arabs, it says, the original inhabitants of Arabia were not the familiar Arabs of our time, who was very much darker people. The Proto-Negroid, proto meaning original, belt of mankind stretching across the Africa to Malay. It says, and they were dark-skinned people inhabiting the Arabian Peninsula. In the course of the two big migrations of fair-skinned people coming from the north is when their complexion started to change. Now, I could give you the listing of the 12 original tribes of Arabia, but this is what it says about them. It says the first people to speak Arabic was Arab al-Arabi, the true Arabs. the people that came after the children of Ishmael are called Arab Mustariba. They learned Arabic and they settled in Arabia. The true Arabs were black, and the author of the most authenticated classic Arabic says, Aswad al-Juda means black skin, meaning the Khalis al-Arab, meaning the pure Arabs were dark-skinned people. It says, Al-Jazaz says the Arab prided themselves on dark skin, on black skin. So long before we were saying we were black and proud, they were saying they was black and proud thousands of years ago because they were black and proud. It says in another quote, to the Cushite race belongs the oldest and the purest Arab blood. Cush is Ethiopia, land of the burnt face. I'm just telling you all. These are the facts. The name Cush does not just belong to Africa, but it belongs to Ethiopia and Arabia. That's what another author quotes. So the prophet had a dream, and he saw black and white sheep following him. And the white sheep were so numerous that the black ones were not noticeable. Abu Bakr, one of the companions of the prophet, said, the black ones are the Arabs, and the white ones are the non-Arabs who converted to Islam after the black Arabs. So, why we have a picture like this? The only person in the picture black is Bilal. As I said, white Arabs converted from Persia, from Rome after the Muslim conquest and Turkey. So the black contribution is not restricted to Bilal, not restricted to a slave. In fact, the most slaves in Arabia were white. Did y'all know that? I did not know this, so I had to retrain myself because all I knew was Bilal. And then I found out about some other slaves. Another African slave who was enslaved and freed themselves and was the first martyr, was a woman. But then I found out everybody was black. Everybody. What was happening, there was infighting, and what happens, it wasn't slavery like this, like chattel slavery that we have now, when people were kidnapped, brought to another country, and then forced to work, and then they were perpetually slaves. This was prisoners of war who were fighting one another. And when they fought one another, they made the other person work for them. So whoever lost had to do the work. Right? So it wasn't chattel slavery. Chattel slavery in America was the worst slavery ever. So never let anybody compare it to slavery anywhere else. I don't even like calling it slavery. It was prisoners of war. If you say prisoners of war, it makes much more sense. These people, kidnappers, brought us to another continent and made us work perpetually because of our black skin. Their fighting was not based on skin color. That's why I said the most enslaved people in Arabia during the time of the prophet were white. I want some of these things to resonate with you when you leave here. All right? Bilal, this man right here, his name was called dark skin, dark black. We all know he's Ethiopian. He's Ethiopian. He is the same complexion as Ali, which is the cousin of the prophet. The same complexion of his father, Abu Talib. Of all these people are dark skinned. The Quraysh people was black. The Hishamites that he came from were black. They prided themselves on dark skin. We don't know this. I don't know why we don't know this, but I want to make sure that we know this moving forward. The prophet also says, when he was talking about complexion, when they talk about white people, if you read about white people, they're not talking about people who have white skin. White meant that they were, they had good character. So you could be a dark-skinned person and they would call you white. They call white people red people. So that's when the prophet said he came for the black people and for the red people. He came for everybody. But when he said black, he was talking about himself and his people because they were black. And he came for the red people. So everybody, whatever the complexion is in between those. So when we hear the last sermon of the prophet, it says that a white is not superior to a black and a black is not superior to a white. He does not say white. He says red because he's talking about white people were called red people. They were not called white. All right. Let me see if I can get down to the end of this. I want to end this. People at least understanding what I'm saying. The prophet was called, the complexion they said was asmar, which means light brown. There are other narrations that said he was white. Others that said he was red. But the people that he came from and the people around there, let me show you again the proximity of Africa to Arabia. And let me show you, this is highlighting the equator and the sun hitting all those people. But all those people this is hit by were dark-skinned people. So if they were indigenous to that land, then they were dark-skinned people. And here's one other one, just to explain what I am saying here. The middle region here is the sun hitting those people in the middle of the planet. And as you see here, this is indicative of complexion. Those people that are closer to the middle are darker, and the further they got from the equator, the lighter and the lighter they got. So I'm saying all this to say, everybody in the Bible, everybody in the Quran, except for the people that were Romans and Persians, was black or brown. Now this is important because, I think it's important because God knew that black and brown people would be subjugated, would be looked down upon. And at some point, we would find the truth. In the Quran, it says the truth can never be extinguished, no matter how much you try. So no matter how much it has been covered, the truth is clear. And I want you all to know this. I want you all to leave here and be confident in what I am saying here. Everybody in this Quran is black or brown, except for the Romans, except for the Persians, except for the Turks. And the people that are inhabiting that place married the people that were living on that land, and then they became lighter into the complexion that they are now. So we should never, ever, ever feel inferior about anything ever, because everybody that names himself Muhammad or David or Solomon or whatever is naming themselves after a black person. I think that's it. He doesn't need it? Yeah, definitely.
Sit down. Oh, okay.
Say again?